Hi, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's my first time that I'm presenting at the Print Week, and I hope that what I'm presenting is something which is useful and something probably which adds value to everybody. So all this while, we've been talking about some fantastic innovations, and it's been such a fantastic afternoon, hearing from each of you about what you're doing with the different brands. And I've been on the brand side for many years. And I've been there where we've demanded from all of our converters. I've been there where I've sat in front of packaging teams and demanded that we wanted the earth and everything else. So I know where brand managers come from. But at the same time, now for the last 10 years, I've been on the packaging side of things also. I was working with Tetra Pak for about 5 years, then with SIG Combi Block. So again, working with brands, but on the other side of packaging. And now when I come in as an ink and coating supplier, this is a completely different ballgame altogether, because I think inks and coatings, we've still not spoken about this at all today evening. And I think this is a very hidden part of packaging many times, because we kind of take it for granted, but inks and coatings probably are the ones which also make a huge difference, and especially in this area of sustainability, where we've spoken about all the EPR targets, and that was lovely. It's a lovely lead-in to what we are trying to say here. When we talk about circular economy, and this is a buzzword which has been going around for the last few years, so we started speaking about sustainability as the first thing, then we talked about recycling, and then now it's come to circular economy, where everyone wants to have circular solutions and circular packaging, and that's the entire mantra which the industry has been talking about. Now, how does this entirely work? So circularity is a concept which is a step away from just recycling. So I'm just going to take you through what is the role that we play as inks and coatings in this entire thing. So just a very quick snapshot about Siegwerk. We are an inks and coatings solution provider. We have more than 190 years behind us. So it's not a new player. We are German-based. And we do about 280 kilotons of printing inks annually. So that's about 5% to 6% of what annually the world produces. Yeah, so we have about 5,000 people globally working in 35 countries, and we have blending centers. We've been in India for many years now, so most of you might have interacted with us at different points of time. And we like to say that we are an arm's length away. We have blending centers in most of the key cities, and therefore we are available and accessible. We usually have print experts who work quite closely with converters, and that's something that we pride ourselves on, our ability to give you the specialized support whenever you require. Next slide, please. So that's our network. I'm not going to get into too many details, but we are based pretty much all over the country. We work quite closely with most of our customers. So, well, that is what a supermarket aisle would look like without inks. So I think that's the stark image of what it would be if we didn't have inks, right? But today, this is what we see in the supermarket. So if you see, inks actually bring in a lot more. Yeah. So functionality, communication, aesthetics, and of course, now increasingly circularity also. Why do I say this? Let's move. Yeah, so earlier we had the linear economy. Everything was produced and it was disposed. And we just kept going on this entire thing, one after the other. Nobody did any recycling. That was never something of consideration. Then we came into this recycling environment where we said, let's see how we can make things recyclable within our systems. So we keep the products in play for a little longer than what they were, And however, what we see is that the quality of recyclates keeps deteriorating. So the first level, you might have a PET, and then the next time when it actually gets recycled, it's something which is lower grade, and then it cannot be used in the same application. Now the concept of circularity is to keep the same recyclable material in play for a lot longer for the same application. So that's where circularity comes in, because you're going on in a circle. You're using the same material again and again. The same virgin material which you're using, you can actually put it again into play into the same system. So that allows you to be able to use lesser amount of natural virgin fiber again and again, or natural of virgin PE again and again. So that circularity is what we are trying to actually bring into play right now. Today, our systems don't allow it. Now, one is, of course, we talked about the segregation itself. There's no dry and wet waste segregation available in most parts of our country, and therefore, that is a natural barrier. The second thing that we have is that the materials that we are using don't support a lot of recycling. And that, again, leads to a lot of wastage in many ways. So we end up sending everything into either chemical recycling or it goes into just the cement plants to be incinerated. So there's nothing really being recycled. Even if it's being collected from the EPR perspective, we're not really recycling and reusing in the same way that we should. Yeah, so that's the challenge that we have. So what did we do as Siegwerk? We've actually said that we've taken a vow to move towards 75% of all our products being reused, renewed, or recycled by 2025. So 75% of anything that we are producing would help to actually aid circularity going forward. The shift in the regulatory landscape, and I think that was very, very aptly put by the presenter before me, who spoke very clearly about what the EPR regulations require of us right now. And this is a pressure which is here. It's not something which is coming, but it's already here. So this is a demand which is coming from the industry, and this is going to be more and more real in the days ahead, where we are going to be under scrutiny. We are going to be actually seeing how we can use more and more of our own recycled material again in the packaging that we are producing. So the actual demand for even recycled material is going to increase. So this is something that I think nobody has very closely focused on so far. But then if you have to use recycled material in your packaging material, you need to have high quality recyclates which come into the system. And that's another very important part which is now coming in. So we said that we as a company, we want to align with the brand owner priorities. So what are the brand owner priorities? There are two things which we see from a circularity point of view. Design for less, which means less packaging, which is not great news for us because we would like people to actually use more packaging. But this is the trend, and we have to be real in terms of understanding what's happening in the market. So less packaging, less finite resources is the first part, which is designing for less. The next one is designing for recycling. This is where recyclability and high quality recyclates come into play. So what we did was we looked at some of the areas in which we would like to work. And the first area we said was recyclable monoplastics. So this is one area that we identified as a key area for us to actually focus on. The next is de-inking. Now we haven't spoken about the role that ink plays in recycling, because if there is highly printed material, even if you've collected it, even if it is great quality, the quality of recyclate which will come out, unless and until you've de-inked the material, is going to be poor because it will be discolored. So then you cannot use the same recyclate again in the same application. So de-inking again becomes a big priority. So that's one of the roles that we want to play. Compostable. Again, you might have compostable material, but if the ink that you're using is not compostable, your product will not be decompostable. So that's another area. Renewability, reusability, and recyclable paper. So these are the areas that we are now working on very closely as a group. So I just want to bring one example today afternoon before all of you. So this is one example in which we've taken a multi-laminate structure. So this was a non-recyclable laminate structure, as you can see. Sorry. A PE base layer. So this is a structure which is well known to all of us, right? A PE base layer, adhesive, met-pet in the middle, and then there's adhesive, reverse printed, and an OPP top layer. So this is a typical product pouch which you might have, a food pouch which is available today in the market. How do we transition this into a monolayer? So the first thing that we are seeing is from a OPP met-pet PE lamination, we want to move to a recyclable OPE and PET structure, PE structure, sorry. So the first thing is looking at the top layer itself, the top layer of MOPE. So we are looking at performance characteristics. We need to have heat resistance for sealing, transparency, gloss. We spoke about, some of the previous presenters also spoke about this, saying that, how do you get heat resistance? How do you get gloss? All of these are very important. So this is the first characteristic which is important in the top layer film that we choose. Reverse print, adhesive and PE layer. So immediately what we've done is we've moved to a mono material in many ways, so you are able to recycle this material. This is critical, because unless and until we have the right materials, we will not be able to recycle it. Yeah. So the next transition, now the first transition is done. We moved to a mono material. But then what do we really want to do? We want to move it, we want to even simplify it further. So from a reverse printed MOPE, can we go to a surface printed? Yeah. So the important thing here then is heat resistance for the machinability and scratch resistance. Again, those are critical points, right? So no brand will compromise on this. No matter how much you talk about the environment or sustainability, nobody would compromise on the actual performance of the product itself. So that's where we actually talk about the heat and scratch resistant lacquers which come into play. Do the surface printing on an MOPE film. So we've been able to successfully demonstrate this. We've been able to actually get products which have been transitioned both for the first transition as well as the second transition. So in effect, what you're doing is you're able to, using suitable inks and coatings, we are able to actually move from a multi-layer structure to a mono-layer structure, and you're able to actually make it much more circular in nature. So that's what we are doing, actually. So we are working across this entire chain. We are working with different brand owners. We're working with partners, including converters, including other people in the value chain. So our aim is to see how we can make our products and solutions as circular as possible. And we are helping our customers in this entire sustainability journey. Some of the recent success stories, for instance, we had this brand called Kasturi. They were packaging vegetable oil. And they moved from a multi-layer, multi-plastic laminate. So they had PET, PVC-based inks on a white PE, and they moved into a new mono material right now, and we gave them PVC-free inks. So again, another major thing that we are now working on is PVC-free, and you will see us launching this very soon. So we are looking at PVC-free inks, which will now be in the market. The other one is actually a paperization attempt, where we moved from a multi-plastic laminate to a coated paper. So surface printing on coated paper. So this again helps us in so many ways, because many brands today are demanding that we move into paper from plastics. So the reduction of plastics is something that is real. We're seeing these as demands on a daily basis. And these are the type of projects that we are undertaking with the help of our value chain partners. So that's it. That's all I had to present. I do hope that we will all work together on this circularity journey. It's never one company which can do it. Everyone together has to do this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Benita Paul.